There is something that scientists discovered about the brain of a narcissist that will change how you understand everything that happened to you. When they receive validation, when they receive attention, when they receive admiration, their brain lights up in exactly the same patterns as a cocaine addict getting their fix. The same neural pathways, the same neurotransmitter, the same desperate craving when the supply runs out. That neurotransmitter is dopamine. And you were their drug. This is why the narcissist never forgets you, even after years of distance, even after they have moved on to new relationships, even after they seem to have forgotten you completely. Because addicts never forget their favorite high, and somewhere in their brain, encoded in neural pathways that form during your time together, is the memory of what you gave them. The validation, the attention, the emotional energy, the supply. Years later, they still remember. Let me explain exactly what happens in the narcissist's brain and why this makes them incapable of truly forgetting you. In 2021, a groundbreaking study by Kastner Bosik and colleagues revealed something that changed our understanding of narcissism forever. They found pronounced behavioral and neuroimaging parallels between cocaine abuse and narcissism. Read that again. The brain of a narcissist, when receiving narcissistic supply, looks virtually identical to the brain of someone experiencing a cocaine high. This suggests that dysregulation in dopamine signaling might underlie the addiction-like features of narcissism. This is not a metaphor. This is not an exaggeration. This is what neuroscience discovered when they put narcissists in brain scanners and observed what happens when they receive attention. The reward system, which evolved to reinforce behaviors crucial for survival, gets hijacked by the need for narcissistic supply. Every compliment triggers a dopamine release. Every moment of being the center of attention triggers a dopamine release. Every instance of perceived superiority triggers a dopamine release. When narcissists successfully manipulate situations or people to their advantage, their brain rewards this behavior with dopamine, reinforcing the pattern, making them want more. This is why they cannot stop. This is why they keep coming back. This is why, even after years, they remember you, because you were the source of their dopamine. You were the dealer. You were the supply. And the brain never forgets where it got its fix. Now let me tell you what happens when that supply is cut off. Without the steady stream of validation, the narcissist's brain experiences a form of withdrawal. The reward center, accustomed to frequent dopamine surges, signals distress. This can manifest as irritability, depression, or even aggressive behavior as the narcissist desperately seeks to restore their supply. This is why they hoover. This is why they reach out after months or years of silence. This is why they suddenly appear when you thought you were finally free. Their brain is in withdrawal, and somewhere in their neural circuitry, your name is encoded as a potential source of relief, not love, not nostalgia, not genuine missing. Withdrawal-seeking behavior from an addicted brain. A July 2024 research paper examined the connections among narcissistic personality disorder, antisocial behavior, and predisposition to addiction. What they found confirmed what earlier research suggested. The same dopamine dysregulation that makes narcissists vulnerable to substance abuse also makes them vulnerable to relationship addiction. They become addicted to people the way others become addicted to drugs, and the people they were most addicted to, the ones who gave them the purest supply, those people they never forget. You might be one of those people. If you gave them consistent admiration, if you made them feel special, if you validated their grandiose self-image, you are encoded in their brain as a high-quality source of supply. And that encoding does not disappear just because the relationship ended. Carl Jung understood something about this dynamic that modern neuroscience is only now beginning to confirm. Jung wrote about projection, the unconscious process of attributing one's own unrecognized qualities onto another person. For the narcissist, you became a screen for their projections, a canvas onto which they painted their ideal self-image, a mirror that reflected back the person they desperately wanted to be when you admired them. They felt worthy. When you validated them, they felt real. When you loved them, they could temporarily escape the emptiness that haunts them. Losing you did not just mean losing a relationship. It meant losing a piece of the mirror that allowed them to see themselves as they wanted to be seen. That is why they cannot let go. Not because they loved you, but because you were part of their psychological architecture. Jung wrote that all projections provoke counter-projection when the object is unconscious of the quality projected upon it. This creates a resonance of unconsciousness between two people, a bond that operates below the level of awareness, a connection that neither person fully understands. For the narcissist, this bond becomes a kind of obsession because your face, your voice, your presence is linked in their mind to the validation they received. Remembering you is not a choice, it is automatic, built into the neural pathways that formed during your time together. This is why no contact works so well. Not because it punishes them, not because it makes them miss you romantically, but because it starves the addiction. It forces the brain to stop getting its fix from you. It breaks the reinforcement pattern that keeps you encoded as a source of supply. But here is what most people do not understand. Even with no contact, even with years of distance, the encoding remains. The narcissist may find new sources of supply. They may appear to have moved on completely. They may even seem happy in new relationships, but somewhere in their brain, you still exist, as a memory, as a potential source, as the high they once had and might have again. This is why they reach out years later, out of nowhere, with a text or a call or a seemingly innocent message. Their brain remembered. And when their current supply runs low, when they experience a moment of dopamine drought, something in their neural circuitry whispers your name. Not love, not nostalgia, not genuine missing. Addiction seeking its next fix. Now, let me tell you something that will really help you understand a narcissist's memory in a completely different way. Narcissists possess intact semantic memory. They can remember facts, dates, events, and information. It's all there. But they suffer from significant gaps in episodic memory. Episodic memory is the memory of personal experiences, the memory that contains emotional context, the memory that gives you a continuous sense of self over time, your life story. For narcissists, this memory is fragmented, distorted, unreliable, like a broken mirror reflecting a distorted image. This leads to a fragmented sense of self. They don't have that cohesive I, and it forces them to rely on confabulation, making up memories to fill the gaps, creating a narrative that fits their needs. When a narcissist remembers you, they are not remembering you as you actually were. Let that sink in. They are remembering a version of you that their fragmented mind has constructed, a version that serves their psychological needs, a version that may bear little resemblance to reality. It's more about them than it is about you. They idealize and devalue both people and memories, treating them as interchangeable internal objects. Like trading cards, one moment, they remember you as the perfect partner they lost, the one that got away. The next moment, they remember you as the villain who destroyed them, the reason for all their problems. Neither memory is accurate. Both are projections, like a movie screen displaying their internal drama. This is why their memories of you seem so inconsistent, why they can swing from idealization to hatred, why their version of events never matches yours. It's like they were in a completely different relationship. Their episodic memory is compromised, and what they remember is not you, but their projection of you, a shadow of who you are. Carl Jung explained this phenomenon through his concept of the shadow, a very powerful concept to understand this. The narcissist cannot access their own emotions honestly. They cannot face their own darkness. They cannot acknowledge their own faults. So they project. They externalize what they can't handle internally. And you became a container for those projections, a dumping ground for their unresolved issues. When they remember you fondly, They are often remembering the validation you gave them, the reflection of their ideal self, the fuel for their ego. When they remember you with hatred, they are often projecting their own shame onto you, making you the villain in a story where they must remain blameless. It's all about self-preservation. Either way, they are not remembering you. They are remembering their psychological needs and using your image to meet them. You are a tool. This is why a narcissist can convince themselves of things that never happened. They literally rewrite history in their minds. This is why they can rewrite history so completely. It's a survival mechanism for their fragile ego. This is why their memories seem delusional. Because to you, the story simply doesn't add up. Because their memories are not records of reality, they are psychological tools, constructed and reconstructed to serve the endless project of protecting their fragile ego. It is exhausting. And within this fragmented memory system, you exist, not as you were, but as they needed you to be. Sometimes idealized, sometimes demonized, always distorted. It's a funhouse mirror, but never forgotten, in some form or another. Now I want to address something that many people wonder about, a question that keeps coming up. If the narcissist never forgets you, why does it sometimes feel like they have completely erased you from their existence? It's like you never even met. This is one of the most confusing aspects of narcissistic relationships, and understanding it requires going deeper into how the narcissist's mind actually works. We have to peel back another layer. The narcissist has what psychologists call a fragmented self. We have talked about this before. Unlike healthy individuals, who have a continuous sense of identity across time, a cohesive I, the narcissist experiences themselves in fragments. It's like living in a broken house. They can genuinely feel like a different person from one moment to the next. Their emotional states are not connected by a coherent narrative. It is all over the place. Their memories are not organized into a meaningful whole. It is like a scrambled puzzle. This means they can simultaneously remember you and act like you never existed. A total mindfuck, right? It is not a contradiction. It is how their psychology operates. It's part of the disorder. When you are not in front of them, when you are not providing supply, you essentially disappear from their active consciousness. You are out of sight, out of mind. Not from their memory, but from their present awareness. They are living in the moment, constantly searching for the next hit. They are so consumed by the need for immediate supply, so focused on whoever is in front of them right now, that everything else fades into background noise. You become irrelevant. This is why they can seem so attentive when you are with them, and so absent when you are not. It's a performance base. This is why they can profess love one day and forget you exist the next, leaving you completely baffled. This is why their attention feels so inconsistent and confusing. It is designed to keep you hooked and confused. Their consciousness is fragmented, and you only exist for them, in the fragments where you are present. But here is the important part. Those fragments do not disappear, as they are stored in the archives of their brain, and they can be activated again at any time, when the narcissist needs supply, when they are in withdrawal, when their current sources are not satisfying. It's like a drug addict needing a fix. Something in their brain scans through the stored fragments, looking for potential sources, looking for remembered highs, for that dopamine hit. And your fragment lights up. Bingo. Not because they miss you, not because they care about you. It's not about love. Because their addicted brain is searching for a fix. And your fragment is tagged as a potential source. You are a target. This is why their hoovers feel so random, so unpredictable, so disconnected from any logical timeline. There is no logic. They are not reaching out because of anniversaries or memories or genuine feeling. Don't flatter yourself. They are reaching out because their brain ran a search, and your name came up as a result. You fit the profile. Understanding this helps you stop taking their behavior personally. This is essential to begin healing. It is not about you. It was never about you. It's a tough pill to swallow, but necessary. It is about their disordered brain seeking supply, wherever it remembers finding it before. You are a resource. Now let me tell you about something called narcissistic object constancy, a complex but important concept to consider, or rather, the lack of it. The absence of this is a key component. Object constancy is the psychological ability to maintain a stable image of someone even when they are not present. To remember that someone loves you even when they are not actively showing it. To hold a relationship as consistent and reliable even when you cannot see the other person. Healthy adults develop object constancy in childhood. It's a key developmental milestone. It allows them to maintain stable relationships, to feel secure in love, to trust that connections persist even across distance and time. It allows healthy connection. Narcissists often did not develop this capacity. They are emotionally stunted. Their early childhood environments were frequently chaotic, inconsistent, filled with conditional love that appeared and disappeared without warning. It was a breeding ground for this disorder. As a result, they struggled to maintain stable internal representations of other people. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. When you are in front of them, you are real, present, important. You are fulfilling their immediate needs. When you are not in front of them, you fade, become abstract, lose emotional reality. It's like you cease to exist. This is why they can seem so devoted when you are together, and so indifferent when you are apart. The inconsistency is maddening. This is why long-distance relationships with narcissists almost never work. They simply can't maintain the connection. This is why they often have multiple supply sources, because they cannot hold on to the feeling of one person when that person is not present. They need constant validation. But paradoxically, this same lack of object constancy is what makes them unable to truly forget you. There is a flip side to this. Because they never fully integrated you into a stable internal representation, you remain fragmented in their memory. Pieces of you, moments with you, feelings you triggered, all stored separately, all capable of being activated independently. This is why the narcissist can hate you and idealize you at the same time. This is why they can remember certain moments perfectly, while seeming to have amnesia about others. This is why their memories of you feel so inconsistent and contradictory. You were never a whole person to them. You were a collection of fragments, and those fragments remain, scattered throughout their psychological landscape, available to be activated whenever their needs demand it. The researchers who study narcissistic memory have noted something else important. Narcissists have heightened vigilance to ego threat. This means their brain is constantly scanning for anything that might challenge their grandiose self-image, anything that might expose their vulnerability, anything that might wound their fragile ego. And this vigilance does not turn off just because time passes. If you wounded them, if you saw through their mask, if you challenged their superiority in any way, their brain filed that away as a threat, and threats get special memory encoding. They get flagged for attention. They get stored with emotional intensity that ensures they will not be forgotten. This is the neuroscience behind narcissistic grudges. The narcissist does not choose to hold on to resentment. Their brain is wired to remember ego threats with unusual intensity and persistence. Years can pass, and decades even. And the moment something triggers that memory, the wound feels fresh again. This is why narcissists can bring up things that happened 20 years ago, as if they happened yesterday. This is why they never truly forgive. This is why attempting to reason with them about the past is almost always futile. Their brain processed the wound differently than a healthy brain would. It stored it in a way that resists the normal fading that time provides. And now that wound is part of their psychological architecture, as real and present as the day it happened. If you wounded the narcissist, you are permanently encoded in their ego threat detection system. They will never forget you, because their brain will not let them. Now I want to tell you about the 3 specific reasons why the narcissist never forgets certain people. Because not everyone gets encoded in their brain the same way. Some people the narcissist discards and barely remembers. Others, they carry forever. And understanding why will help you understand what happened to you. The first reason is the quality of supply you provided. Not all narcissistic supply is equal. Some people give diluted supply, occasional validation, inconsistent attention, admiration that comes with conditions or limits. But some people give pure supply, unconditional admiration, constant attention, validation that asks for nothing in return, love that has no boundaries. If you were this person, you got encoded as a premium source. The narcissist's brain flagged you, marked you, stored you in a special category, because supply like that is rare. And even if they find other sources, most of those sources will never match what you gave them. Years later, when their current supply feels inadequate, something in their brain whispers, remember that person. Remember how good it felt. Not love, not missing. Dopamine memory seeking its purest high. The second reason is the narcissistic wound you inflicted. Narcissists have an almost supernatural memory for perceived slights, for moments when they felt exposed, for instances when their grandiose self-image was challenged. If you wounded them, if you saw through them, if you called out their behavior, if you left on your own terms, you inflicted a narcissistic injury. And narcissistic injuries never heal. They fester. They become obsessions, they demand revenge, resolution, or vindication. The narcissist might not consciously think about you every day, but somewhere in their psyche, the wound remains, waiting, remembering, keeping score. This is why some narcissists reach out years later, seeking apologies for things that happened a decade ago. This is why they can hold grudges for a lifetime. This is why they never truly forgive. Even when they claim to, the wound remembers. And as long as the wound remembers, so does the narcissist. The third reason is the projected identity you carry. Remember what Carl Jung taught about projection. The narcissist projects parts of themselves onto others. Sometimes, they project parts of themselves that they desperately want to keep. Their idealized self, their potential, their fantasy of who they could be if only circumstances were different. If you became a carrier of this projection, you became part of their identity. Not just someone they dated, not just someone they knew. You became a piece of the person they wanted to be, a symbol of a life they imagined, a representation of their best possible self. Letting go of you would mean letting go of that projection. And narcissists cannot let go of anything that reinforces their grandiose self-image, so they hold on, in their memories, in their fantasies, in the corner of their mind that still believes they could be the person they were when they were with you, not because they loved you, but because you represented something they are terrified to release. This is why some narcissists talk about their exes as if they were the love of their life, while simultaneously treating their current partners terribly. The ex has become mythologized, transformed into a symbol, a projection carrier. And projection carriers never get forgotten. Now let me tell you what this means for you. Because understanding why the narcissist remembers you is only half the picture. The other half is understanding what to do with this knowledge. First, stop interpreting their memory as love. When the narcissist reaches out after years, when they text you out of nowhere, when they suddenly appear in your life again, it is tempting to believe they genuinely miss you, that they finally realized what they lost, that they have changed and want you back. This is almost never true. What is true is that their brain remembered a source of supply. Their dopamine system flagged you as a potential fix. Their psychological wound demanded attention. That is not love. That is addiction. And responding to an addict's craving never leads to the outcome you hope for. Second, understand that you have power here. The narcissist remembering you is not a burden. It is proof that you matter. Not in the romantic sense, but in the psychological sense. You gave them something they could not find elsewhere. You provided supply they still crave. You carry a projection they cannot release. That is power, and you can use that power by never giving them what they want again. Every time you ignore their hoovering attempt, you starve the addiction. Every time you refuse to respond, you weaken the neural pathway. Every time you deny them supply, you become less accessible in their memory. Not forgotten, but inaccessible, unrewarding, not worth the effort. This is the goal. Not to be forgotten, but to become associated with no reward. Addicts eventually stop going to dealers who never have what they need. Third, recognize the projection and reclaim yourself. For as long as you were with the narcissist, you were seen through the lens of their projections, not as yourself, as what they needed you to be. Some of those projections were positive: the idealized partner, the perfect supply source, the embodiment of their fantasy. Some were negative: the villain, the abuser, the person responsible for all their problems. Neither projection was you. And part of your healing is recognizing this, separating yourself from the role they cast you in, reclaiming your identity from their distorted memory. When you understand that the narcissist never knew the real you, that they only knew their projection of you, their memory becomes less powerful, because they are not remembering you. They are remembering a fiction they created. And that fiction has nothing to do with who you actually are. A 2024 study published in Psychological Bulletin examined how narcissistic tendencies shift over a lifetime. Researchers analyzed 51 studies of more than 37,000 participants. What they found was sobering. Over the course of decades, narcissism did decrease, but only a little, at most. Researchers saw a moderate decline. This means the narcissist who hurt you is unlikely to fundamentally change. The brain patterns that made them remember you, the dopamine dysregulation, the fragmented memory, the need for supply. These are stable features of their psychology, features that resist change, features that persist across decades. This is why hoping for change is usually futile. This is why waiting for them to become different is almost always a waste of time. And this is why the most important person in this equation is not them, it is you. Carl Jung wrote something profound about the relationship between victims and narcissists. He observed that one of the silver linings in relationships with narcissists is that they make us aware of our own shadow. The shadow composed of our undesired thoughts and emotions. Many people harbor a suppressed narcissistic side within themselves. The hatred directed toward narcissists often stems from an uncomfortable recognition of one's own narcissistic traits. As Andrew Huberman often points out, these shadow aspects are crucial for understanding our full selves. This is not to blame you for what happened, but it is to suggest that the narcissist in your life may have served a function beyond the obvious one. They may have been a mirror, reflecting parts of yourself you needed to see, showing you boundaries you needed to learn, teaching you about your own patterns of giving too much, accepting too little, losing yourself in others. Jung believed that every relationship, even the most destructive ones, contains the potential for growth. The narcissist never forgets you. That is true. But you have the power to make that memory irrelevant, by healing, by growing, by becoming someone they could never control, by integrating the lessons of this relationship into a stronger version of yourself. The narcissist is stuck in their patterns. Research proves this. They will continue seeking supply. They will continue cycling through idealization and devaluation. They will continue reaching out to past sources when current ones run dry. That is their prison. Your freedom is in refusing to be part of it anymore, not by being forgotten, but by being unreachable, not by disappearing from their memory, but by becoming someone their memory cannot touch. This is the ultimate victory over a narcissist. Not revenge, not closure, not proving them wrong, simply outgrowing them. Becoming someone for whom their opinion is irrelevant, their memory is meaningless. Their existence is a chapter long closed. They will remember you. The neuroscience guarantees this. But that memory will bring them no satisfaction, no supply, no dopamine hit, just the echo of something they once had and can never have again. And that is enough. This is the ultimate irony of narcissistic relationships. They cannot forget you, but they cannot truly know you either. They hold on to fragments by the projections and distortions. What they remember is not you. It never was. And what you remember, the pain, the confusion, the love you gave that was never returned, that can heal, that can fade, that can become a chapter in a story that ends with your freedom. They are stuck. You are not. They will remember. You can move on. They are prisoners of their disordered brain. You can become free. That is the real difference between you and them. Not who remembers and who forgets, but who is capable of growth and who is not. Choose growth, choose healing, choose freedom, and let them remember whatever version of you their broken mind has constructed. It was never really you anyway. This channel exists to explain the psychology behind these dynamics, to show you the science that reveals what is really happening, to give you frameworks for understanding, so you can stop being confused and start healing. If this helped you see the narcissist in your life more clearly, consider subscribing, because there is more to understand. How the narcissist chooses their targets, what makes certain people more vulnerable, the specific brain changes that happen during narcissistic abuse, and how to reverse them. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you recognized your story in what I described, leave a comment. Tell me, did a narcissist reach out to you years later? Did their sudden reappearance make sense now that you understand the neuroscience? I want to hear from you. Because understanding this is the first step to freedom. The narcissist will never forget you, but you can learn to make that irrelevant. And when you do, you will finally be free. See you in the next video.